Buyers beware. The new Toyota Tundra isn't as good as we expected it to be. After what looked like a stellar 2 years on the market, Toyota's full-size pickup truck started showing its ugly sides. So much so that we urge you to halt your purchase of the truck and stay with us as we explain to you why the Toyota Tundra has a big problem. The new engine has just been recalled. One of the most controversial changes for the current generation of the Tundra was the change of powertrains. Namely, the venerable naturally aspirated V8 engine has been dropped in favor of the twin-turbocharged V6, which angered many fans. The key reason why most of us were worried was the fact that the two added turbochargers would only make the engine far more complex while trading the reliability and smoothness that the V8 was known for. Well, it seems that we were right after all, as the twin-turbocharged V6 turned out to be quite a lemon. You see, a large quantity of vehicles equipped with the aforementioned V6 recall have been recalled a week ago. The issue itself is caused by the fact that the machining debris hasn't been removed from the engine after the production process. The said debris essentially attaches itself to the crankshaft's main bearings, creating higher loads and hardening the operation, while also creating a higher pressure point for the bearings, which are likely to break. As a result, you could hear the engine knocking. Notice that it's running a little rough and poof, you'd be out of power. This creates a risk of a fatal accident, which is certainly disheartening to hear. This is an enormous number for such a young model, and the fact that this issue has been noticed in old model years confirms that this is a long-term problem with the engine. Honestly, we're very disappointed in Toyota, as we've adored their no-compromise approach to reliability. However, this issue leaves quite a bitter taste in our mouths. Now, this wouldn't be a problem if it were a one-time occurrence. However, the fact that more than one person experienced this issue drew Toyota to recall quite a bit of its vehicles from the roads. How many, you might ask? 102,000. And by the way, even if the engines were reliable, it was still a very questionable choice overall, because the V6 itself is nothing to write home about. There's no avoiding it. From a technical standpoint, it felt more like a downgrade compared to the V8 than it didn't. You see, even though it was twin-turbocharged, the V6 engine made barely as much HP as the 5.7-liter V8 engine did in the previous generation model, while also being just as fuel efficient, or rather just as inefficient, to be precise. Even though the official EPA figures state that it can achieve up to 22 miles per gallon combined, real-world tests have shown that this isn't the case, as regular day-to-day use will allow the trucks to return only 16 miles per gallon combined, according to first-hand sources. This is less than stellar, especially when compared to its direct rivals, such as the F-150 and the Ram 1500, both of which offer similar, if not better, gas mileage, while also outclassing it in terms of performance and torque. Speaking of torque, the Toyota Tundra is among the worst in its class when it comes down to towing capacity, as it can tow a maximum of 12,000 pounds, which is 2,000 pounds less than the current king of the segment, the F-150. So yeah, generally speaking, even if the engine were reliable, it would have still been quite uninspiring and forgettable. But while on the topic of reliability, the Tundra's powertrain isn't the only part of the truck that has experienced shoddy reliability. Oh no. There was also a transmission recall. It seems like there's no end to the Toyota Tundra's reliability issues. We'd understand if these were minor issues. However, all of the problems that the Tundra encountered have been directly related to the drivetrain, which certainly isn't a good thing to hear. Won't you agree? When it comes down to this specific problem, Tundra's new 10-speed transmission has been known to have a problem with disengaging when the driver shifts it to neutral. Now, anyone with common sense can understand why this isn't good. This means that once you shift the truck into neutral and lift your foot off the pedal, it could keep creeping up as if it were in gear. This means that you could unintentionally hit an object, making this issue quite hazardous. Not to mention that revving the engine in neutral would result in the truck going full throttle, making it an even bigger safety problem. The result of this was a catastrophically high number of vehicles being recalled, a whopping 280,000. And the kicker is that this only includes vehicles that have been made from 2022 to 2024. It is unbelievable that, for only 2 years of production, Toyota has managed to couple such a large spreadsheet of issues and recalls. Granted, These aren't just Tundra, as this includes other Toyota and Lexus products. But still, it just shows how Toyota has fallen in the past few years in terms of quality. Now, thankfully, this issue itself isn't that hard to fix. As a result of this was just a software issue that requires updating, nothing more. But that exactly shows why putting switches and electronics where levers and mechanical components should be is a bad idea. The ride quality is iffy at best. Now, this is just a typical Toyota. You know, we can understand the harsh ride Toyota's other vehicles, such as the Corolla and the Prius have. These are all just econo boxes that are designed to be reliable, nothing more, which is perfectly acceptable. However, what is not acceptable is the fact that a full-size pickup truck has such a bumpy and harsh ride. It seems that Toyota was aiming at creating a vehicle that would be able to stay composed on the road without compromising its off-road performance and towing capabilities. While they certainly managed to blend these things, we would have much rather liked it if Toyota compromised and gave us a truck that is enjoyable to ride in. And if that wasn't enough, the truck is also very cramped, especially in the rear. This is simply unacceptable for a full-size truck with a crew cab, as most mid-size trucks offer loads of space in the rear. Now, credit where credit's due. It isn't as bad as its predecessor or the smaller Tacoma, thanks to the fact that Toyota uses coil spring suspension at the rear. However, putting it side by side with the F-150, and especially the Ram 1500, shows just how incredibly flawed the suspension can be for your regular commutes. This comparison brings us to what's possibly the biggest issue with the Tundra, which is the fact that there are simply better alternatives to the Tundra. As much as we love Toyota as a brand, the Tundra simply cannot hold a candle to its immediate US rivals. There's no avoiding it. The domestics rule supreme over the Tundra in virtually every way. There is nothing where the Tundra excels at. Take, for example, the interior of the Tundra. Sure, it isn't bad, and it most certainly beats out the likes of the Nissan Titan. However, it cannot hold a candle to the Ram 1500. Stellantis' truck has a much more eye-pleasing interior, which is also better insulated and filled with much more premium materials. The ergonomics are also better. Furthermore, putting the Tundra next to the F-150 and the Ram 1500 in terms of capability also shows how deeply mediocre the Tundra is. The F-150's wide array of engines makes it a much more appealing choice for wider audiences, and the retention of the venerable 5.0 V8 means that even the most traditional of folks will still stand by the blue oval side. On the other hand, the Ram 1500's Hurricane engine is an inline-6 engine, which means that it is smoother than the Tacoma's V6, while also being mechanically simpler too. Not to mention that the Ram 1500 has much better performance figures, despite having a smaller displacement engine. Oh, and let's not forget about the fact that all of its US competitors offer a much more comfortable ride. They're just that much softer, that makes them much less insufferable to live with. Even though Toyota has started stepping their game up, nobody still understands full-size pickup trucks as well as the Americans do. It is, after all, the thing that built this nation up, and it's only logical that we make it the best of the best, isn't it? Overall, the sheer mediocrity of the Tundra is, in our opinion, its biggest downfall. It's by no means a bad car. However, with the uncompromisable Toyota reliability gone, the Tundra has been left without any aces in its pocket. Let's just hope that the long-awaited plug-in hybrid becomes that ace, as it would be a shame to see such a fundamentally good truck drawn down by its poor peripheral choices.